This conference will now be recorded.
So first we will try to understand what is this AWS. Once we are familiar with AWS, then we will go for a Docker and Kubernetes. Before I directly go for AWS, first and foremost thing, if you are planning to develop one application or you are planning to deploy one application, first and foremost thing, what is required for your application to be hosted? Do we need an infrastructure first? Infrastructure. So when you are developing some application, let's say, to host that application, do you need some kind of a servers where you can install application servers, where you can install database servers? Without infrastructure, will you guys able to host in the sense deploy? Will you guys able to deploy the application, whatever application you are building? No. So first and foremost thing which we need is infrastructure. The first and foremost thing for your application, we need an infrastructure. What is the meaning of infrastructure? Infrastructure is nothing but servers, storage, networking devices, load balancers, databases, all those things. If you take any application, are we going to have application servers, guys? You take any application, whether it's a sample application, whether it's an actual application, are we going to have an application servers where we are going to install application softwares, where we will deploy the application? Yes. So if you take any application, guys, please be on mute. Don't make a lot of background noise. If you take any application, you need a servers to host the application. If you want to install Tomcat software, if you want to install Node.js software, or if you want to have a JBoss software, do I need some server where I can install that application software and deploy the application? We need a servers, application servers. And applications will communicate with the databases also. Do I need an infrastructure to deploy the database? Do I need an infrastructure to host the database? Yes. So any application you take, you have an application servers, you have a database servers. To install application software or database software, do I need an operating system? Do I need a OS? That can be any operating system like a Linux, Windows, Mac, whatever it is. To boot operating system, do I need some hardware? Without hardware, can I boot, can I install OS or can I boot OS without hardware? No. So we need a hardware to boot operating system. What is the meaning of hardware here? Hardware or infrastructure. So this hardware or infrastructure is nothing but it can be your CPU, memory, network devices, storage, etc. Your networking devices like switches, routers, storage. What is the meaning of storage? Disk where we can store the data. So we need a hardware. Without this hardware and operating system, can I install any database or can I install any application software like Tomcat, JBoss, Node.js, Python, whatever it is? No. So before any cloud came into picture, where we used to have this hardware. Forget about AWS, forget about GCP, forget about Azure, where we used to have this hardware, the required infrastructure or hardware. So we used to have in the data center, on-premise data centers. We used to call it as a on-premise data centers. What is the meaning of on-premise data center? On-premise, or we call it as a in-house data center or on-premise data center. First of all, what is data center, guys? Data center. What is the meaning of data center? The location where we will have application data, basically servers. The location where we have application data, basically servers. Basically, the data center is nothing but the location where we have our servers, where we have our infrastructure. So before any cloud came into picture, everyone used to have their own data center within their office location, within their own premises, within their premise, which means within their own locations. Everyone used to have their own infrastructure. Just to give an example, let's say LIC. LIC is one application. LIC is one application. Just to give an example, I am taking this one. If you see, this is one application. So they developed this application using some programmatic language. They developed this application using some programmatic language. Maybe that can be Java. Now, if they want to host this application, let's say, as a LIC organization, do they need some infrastructure like servers to host this application and databases of this application? So before any cloud came into picture, everyone used to have their own data centers. Maybe LIC as a company itself might have, set up their own data center, or maybe LIC might have given to some third party to set up the data center and manage the data centers for LIC on behalf of them. But they have their own data centers in their own locations. So in the data centers, what we are going to provision? So are we going to provision physical machines, physical servers, physical machines? The physical servers are nothing but that will have a CPU, memory. So are we going to have a storage devices in the data center, disks where we can store the data? Are we going to have a network devices like routers, cables, switches? Using these network devices, are we going to connect the servers to the network? Using these network devices, are required to connect your servers to the network. That can be local network or that can be internet. So everyone used to have their own servers, storage, network devices in their own data center earlier. Now, what is the challenges or what is the drawbacks with on-premise data centers? Why this cloud came into picture? There are a lot of challenges. The biggest challenge is cost, investment. The biggest challenge with the data center is investment. We call it as a capital expenditure, capex, capital expenditure, investment. And Maintenance is one more biggest challenge. Maintenance. So what is the meaning of capital expenditure? What is the meaning of investment? Suppose as a LIC company, as a LIC company, do they need to invest lot of money to set up the data center, and also do they need to spend lot of money to purchase all these devices like servers, storage devices, network devices, and also do they need to hire people who can set up the data center for them, and also who can monitor and manage the data centers 24/7? There should be a power supply to your data center 24/7. There should be a cooling system for your data center. And do you need to hire administrators like database administrators who is going to keep monitor the infrastructure devices? Is there any device which is failed? Do they need to identify and replace those devices in the data center? Maintenance, very high maintenance effort. The biggest challenge, one more here, is scalability and elasticity. The biggest challenge in the on-premise data center is scalability and elasticity. So what does it mean? Let me explain. As I already told, on-premise data center is basically organization itself will maintain all the IT infrastructure like server, storage, network, etc. required for that business, right? Organization itself, the company itself will maintain all the IT infrastructure in their own locations, Who is responsible for operating those data center, managing the data center? As a company, they are responsible, their own data center, so they are only responsible. Now within their location, they can set up a data center like this. So we call this one as a server racks. This as a server rack. Maybe if you are already in IT, you are already having maybe 3 to 4 years of experience. Maybe if you have been to office, some corner of the floor, you might have observed some closed area. You don't have access to that closed area, and there might be a lot of noise and heat coming out of that. Lot of heat coming out of that area, lot of noise coming out of that area. That closed area, we call it as like, in that area there is a data center. I mean to say there are some servers like this. In those servers only you have your application, your database, all those things. So every organization used to maintain the data center like this. But what is the challenge? What is the problem here? Scalability. Cost, scalability, maintenance. What is the meaning of scalability? Let's say, let's take this as an example itself, LIC itself. When initially LIC rolled out this application, let's say there are very less customers. Let's understand, very less customers in the sense hardly 1,000 people are accessing that application. Initially, when LIC came into market, let's understand, hardly 1,000 people are accessing that application to purchase insurance or renewing the insurance or claiming the insurance. They are hardly users, very less customers to that application. Maybe we have very less infrastructure, we have very less resources in the data center, less infrastructure, less servers, less storage. But slowly, lot of users are started using LIC. There are a lot of users purchasing the premiums, insurance, renewals, all those stuff. Will I able to support with whatever infrastructure I had when I have very less users? No. So do I need to scale my infrastructure? I mean to say, do I need to provision lot of servers, storage devices in my data center. I have to scale my application. I have to scale my application. What is the meaning of scaling? As you already know already, in real time, are you going to deploy your application in one instance, one replica? No. Let's say I deployed in 3 servers. In front of that servers, there is a load balancer. Does all the requests will go via load balancer? Does load balancer will route the traffic to your application servers in the background? This is your load balancer. These are your application servers. Now, initially, I have very less users. I am able to support with these many application servers. But slowly, lot of people started using your application. There is a lot of load on the application. If I don't scale my application, if there is a lot of load, will these servers will be able to handle that much load? No. In that case, do I need to scale my application? Do I need to scale my application? Yes. But if I want to scale this application, do I need a required infrastructure, required CPU, memory, storage to set up few more servers like this? In my data center, if I don't have enough infrastructure, will I able to scale my application whenever it is required? If I don't have enough data, infrastructure, no. But here, do I need to provision? Do I need to provision the additional infrastructure in my data center if I want to scale? Yes. But again, what is the problem? Here, it is going to take a lot of time consuming. The process is not simple. So if I want to provision the required infrastructure, first of all, do I need to raise a intake in the sense request? Do I need to raise a request to purchase the additional hardware for my data center? First, I need to raise a request. I need an approval. I need an approval from management. Why you need additional servers? Once the intake is approved, the vendor who is going to deliver this hardware, the vendor who is going to deliver this hardware, will they take some time to deliver this hardware to your data center wherever you are operating? Yes. They may take 1 month, they may take 10 days, 15 days. Once you get this hardware to your data center, do you need to configure this hardware into your data center, connect this hardware to your networks, configure operating systems, softwares in that servers? Is it going to take huge time, this process? Yes. So it takes a lot of time to scale. But if you see nowadays in the cloud, if you need 10 servers in next 2 minutes, are you guys able to quickly create a 10 servers in next 2 minutes or 100 servers in next 1 hour? But when it comes to your own data center, do you have a lot of challenges in scaling the infrastructure and also maintenance, lot of maintenance effort, lot of investment you have to make? All these things are the challenges. So the way you grow your business, at the same time, do you need to scale your infrastructure also in the background to support those many users of your application? You need to grow your infrastructure also to support along with your business. Now let's consider this. Your business, all of sudden business not performing well. Some other competitor, some other application came. Like instead of LIC, let's say now ICICI Insurance or HDFC Insurance came into the market. Lot of people started going for ICICI Lombard or HDFC Insurance. There is a lot of other competitors came into the market. Your business is not doing well, and again you are back to this scenario. Again you lost your business, and again you have this many customers, but you already had this much infrastructure. Now is your infrastructure resources are wasted in your data center? Suppose again you are back to this position. Is your infrastructure is it utilized fully? Is it utilized its capacity fully? It's wasted. Now what do you do with this infrastructure? You have already invested huge amount, lakhs of rupees, guys. The physical servers will be not like your laptops or your desktops. The physical servers will be very huge in cost, like 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, one physical server. So again, if you are back to this position, your utilization, your resource utilization is very less. Your infrastructure is not fully utilized. You are wasting your resources. If you have this much users, do you really need this much infrastructure if you have only this many users? Just to give an example, no. So what do you do? Okay, sir, I will sell it in OLX. It is not like that, right? So you have wasted your resources. So you have lot of challenges like this with on-premise data center. Very high maintenance effort. As I already told, it requires all these things to maintain your data center. Do I need a dedicated space in my company or in some location where I can set up my data center? I need a dedicated space, some building, some area. Do I need to provide high bandwidth network connectivity for my data center? I need to connect my servers with network so that people can access my application. And also, do I need to have 24/7 redundant power supply? 24/7 I need to have a power supply to my data center. For any time, if there is a power outage, will my servers will be impacted in the data center? If power is down, servers goes down. If your server goes down, does your application accessible, your data accessible if server goes down? No. So you need to have a 24/7 power supply. And also, do I need to have a support people available to monitor and manage the data center and its servers? Do I need to hire a support people to manage the data center? Yes. And also, do I need to plan my capacity properly, like how much resources is required for my application in the data center? If I don't plan the capacity properly, if I don't plan my capacity properly, now either I will run out of resources, or either I will run out of, I will have a more resources, or I will run out of resources. So I need to plan my capacity properly. So do I have a very high maintenance effort? Everywhere you have to spend money. You need to hire a people who can support the data center. You need to spend lot of maintenance effort, and most importantly, time consuming. Will I able to quickly will I able to quickly set up data center and the servers in my data center whenever it is required? No. And also you need to have a proper leadership experience. What is the meaning of leadership experience? Do I need to hire a people who has good experience in managing the data center. I need to hire a people who has good experience in setting up the data centers and managing the data centers. So everywhere maintenance problem. Now Shashidhar is asking, sir, one question, can't we give to our on-premise data center to some other companies which are not using? So that is okay, but does the other guy will trust you? Because let's say I am LIC company, I have my data center. Now HDFC requires servers. Does HDFC will trust LIC that okay, I will host my application, I will store my data in your data center, but will they trust LIC? Since the HDFC data is in LIC servers, LIC data center, does LIC can see how many customers are there in HDFC, what is their business? Will they able to get the data? It is like simple, guys, Shashi. It is like you are giving your hard disk to someone else. So will they able to read whatever data you have in your hard disk? If you give your hard disk to me, you are giving your hard disk to me, will I able to read what is there in your hard disk? So there is lot of security requirements also. Since they are competitors, it is not going to work like that. Now, the most important requirements in the business, any application you take, they are going to expect these factors. Any application, any business you take, they are going to expect these four things. Okay, high availability, fault tolerance, scalability, and elasticity. Any application you take, they are going to expect these things: high availability, fault tolerance, scalability, and elasticity. Now, what is the meaning of high availability? What is the meaning of high availability? The name itself, it is saying high availability. Our application, our application and its data should be always available. My application and my data of that application should be always accessible. There should not be any downtime. So any application you take, we need to create an infrastructure in such a way that our system is always available. So high availability ensure that we can always access our data. And any business will expect a fault tolerance also. What is the meaning of fault tolerance? Tolerating the failure. Fault tolerance is nothing but tolerating the failure. So any application will expect a fault tolerance. So the ability of system to tolerate the failures. Let's say one of my web server or application server is failed. Let's say one of my web server or application server is failed. There should be a way automatically another server should come into picture. Let's consider one of our web server or application server is failed. Automatically the other server, the backup server, should immediately take control and recover that failure. Fault tolerance. Fault tolerance is nothing but it should tolerate the failure. It should not impact your application. And also it will expect scalability. Business will expect scalability. What is the meaning of scalability? Based on the changes in the application, I should be able to increase and decrease my infrastructure resources based on the load. Based on the load, I should be able to increase and decrease the infrastructure resources for my application. Let's take this example, Flipkart. Flipkart, occasionally they will give offers, right? Like big billion days offers, Pongal offers, big billion day offers. So during those peak season, does lot of requests go to the Flipkart? I mean to say, lot of people start accessing the Flipkart, even though there is no really, even though people don't really need that product, even though people really don't need that product, we will get into their business tactics and we will unnecessarily purchase. That is our human mentality. But during that peak season, will lot of users will access the Flipkart application? So let's say during that peak season, do I need to scale my infrastructure to support those many users, to support that much load? In Flipkart data center, let's consider, do I need to scale the required infrastructure to support that much load? Yes. So we need to scale. Any business will expect scalability. Scalability is a process of adding. Scalability is a process of adding or removing resources, infrastructure resources based on the demand. The scaling will be done in two ways. The scaling will be done in two ways. One is manual scaling. Manual scaling. Manually, you increase the capacity of the servers or increase the number of servers. That is manual. Another one is automatic. That we call it as a elasticity. That we call it as a elasticity, automatic, which means the ability to increase or decrease infrastructure resources like a CPU, memory, storage, increase or decrease infrastructure resources dynamically, automatically. Whenever there is a load, automatically it should increase the number of servers for your application. Whenever there is no load, automatically it should decrease the number of servers for your application. That we call it as a elasticity. Will I able to achieve these factors in my own data center? If I am using on-premise data center, will it be simple to achieve all these things? High availability, fault tolerance, scalability, elasticity? No. We have a lot of challenges to achieve. That is where cloud came into picture. That is where cloud came into picture. Now, let's understand first what is cloud service. Let's understand what is cloud computing. Before we start discussing about AWS, let's understand what is cloud service and what is cloud computing. What is cloud service? Any service, any service which is made available to the users based on the demand via internet. Based on the demand via internet. So any service which is made available to the user based on the demand via internet, we can call it as a cloud service. Just to give an example, suppose I need a requirement, I need a server, or I need some network, or I need some storage. If someone is made it available for me so that I can create that service and I can use that service from wherever I am sitting, can I call that as a cloud service? Suppose I need some server, I need some storage, and I am sitting in Bangalore in my home. if I able to create and access that service from my own location wherever I am sitting, can I call that as a cloud service? If someone is made it available for me to access that service wherever I am sitting, I can call it as a cloud service. Now, if you see EC2, what is EC2? Just to give an example, what is EC2? EC2 is nothing but a server. EC2 is nothing but a server. It's a virtual machine in AWS. So wherever I am sitting, am I able to create and access that service via internet? So that is one example of cloud service. Now, any service, that can be any service which is made available to the users based on their demand via internet, we call it as a cloud service. That can be any service. Let me give example. Service is nothing but they are offering something. Service is nothing but they are doing something and they are charging. So let me make it simple. This Swiggy is also doing some kind of a service, or Zomato is also doing some kind of a service. So this is one service. What they are trying to do, based on the order, based on the demand, are they delivering food to you? Based on the orders, based on the demand, they are delivering the food and they are charging for their delivery. They are charging for that delivery. Similarly, suppose I have a requirement for servers, or I have a requirement for storage. I need some storage to store my data, or I need some servers to host my application or database. If someone is offering that as a service, can I quickly create that service and access that service from wherever I am sitting? Can I call that as a cloud service? Yes. So EC2 is one example for that. Any service which is made available to the user based on the demand via internet, we call it as a cloud service. This, what is cloud computing? What is cloud computing? Narayan Reddy is again asking what is the difference between elasticity and scalability. Scalability is nothing but the process of increasing or decreasing the infrastructure resources. We call it as a scalability. There are two things: manual scaling, auto scaling. That elasticity is nothing but a auto scaling, the dynamic scaling. Automatically, based on the load, we can increase and decrease the infrastructure resources. We call it as a elasticity. The auto scaling, dynamic scaling is also called as elasticity. Simple. Now, what is this cloud computing? Cloud computing is basically, cloud computing is the process of delivering. Cloud computing is the ability of delivering computing services. Computing services. What is the meaning of computing services? Can I call server as computing service, storage as computing service, network as computing service, etc. Right? Cloud computing is the way or ability. Cloud computing is the way or ability of delivering computing services like server, storage, networks, etc. based on the demand. Based on the demand is called as cloud computing. Is called as cloud computing. The way we have a cloud computing, we have a cloud service provider, CSP. What is CSP? The full form of CSP is cloud service provider. What is the meaning of CSP, cloud service provider? Basically, the organization or the company who is doing this cloud computing, who has implemented this cloud computing. We call it as a CSP, cloud service provider. The providers who is offering all these things over internet. So the popular cloud service providers, can I call AWS as one cloud service provider, Azure as one cloud service provider, GCP as one cloud service provider, IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, Rackspace, DigitalOcean, Alibaba Cloud also there, guys. Alibaba Cloud also there. Salesforce Cloud. Like this, we have a cloud platforms. All are doing the same business. All are doing the same business. What all these CSPs are providing? All these guys are providing the computing platforms like a server, storage, networks based on the demand. Suppose I have a demand for some servers. I need some servers to host my application. I need some storage to store my data. I need some networks or databases or some other softwares. Can I go and use any of the CSP? Can I create the required services in that cloud, and can I start deploying my applications in that resources? Yes. So all these things we call it as a cloud service providers. Now, as I already told, cloud computing is the delivery of computing services like servers, storage, networks, etc. over the internet. Over the internet. It is the process of delivering cloud computing services over the internet that is hosted in a remote data center. That is hosted in a remote data center. And who is going to manage the data center? Now, if I am using cloud computing platforms, who is going to manage the data center? The CSP. The CSP, the provider. Guys, don't get confused with the terminology called cloud. Don't get confused with the terminology called cloud. Because let me tell you the truth actually. When I started using cloud almost 7-8 years back, I started using cloud. People used to say, create a cloud server, create a cloud storage, like that. I was thinking, what is that cloud server? What is that cloud storage? Is it really in the cloud? Is that server really in the cloud? Is that server storage really in the cloud? Like that, I was thinking, to be frank. Cloud is nothing but it is not there physically in front of you. It is not there physically in front of you, but it is there somewhere else in the world, in a virtual location. So this EC2 is nothing but one server. That EC2 is nothing but one server. I can call it as a cloud server or virtual server. But will it be running somewhere in the physical location in the world? That can be any location. That can be in Bangalore, that can be in Mumbai, or that can be in US. That server will be physically exist. So instead of you are managing the data centers for your servers, instead of you are managing the data center for your servers, your storage network, the data centers will be owned and managed by CSPs. Now, let's say AWS. Let's say AWS. So AWS will have their own data centers. AWS will have their own data centers. Let's say this is the symbol of cloud. AWS has their own data centers. They will have their infrastructure, the physical servers, the physical hardware in the data centers. This data center somewhere in the world is there. But now I need one server. Am I able to create and access that server from wherever I am sitting? This is my laptop. This is my laptop or desktop, whatever it is. Am I able to create a server in AWS wherever I am sitting? Am I able to access that server from my laptop? So for that, are you using some mechanisms like AWS console, or you can use AWS CLI, or you can use AWS API. So wherever I am sitting using that console or CLIs or APIs, will I able to create the server in the AWS cloud and access that server from my location? Now, is AWS is offering the services based on the demand? Is AWS is offering the services like a server, storage, networks based on the demand via internet? So can I call this AWS as a CSP, cloud service provider? Yes. So does AWS will have its own data centers in their locations? So who is going to own and manage the data centers, the required infrastructure for the data centers, the support people, power supply, cooling system? So everything will be taken care by that respective CSP, cloud service provider. Here, do I need to invest lot of capital expenditure, guys, when I'm trying to use cloud infrastructure instead of on-premise infrastructure? If I use cloud infrastructure, am I responsible for capital expenditure? Even though I need a server, am I going to purchase required hardware myself? No. So if I go for a cloud, instead of we are owning and maintaining the physical data centers, instead of you are buying, owning and maintaining the data centers, so it will be managed by the CSP. It will be managed by the service providers. Here we are going to use pay as you go model. When I use a cloud, we are going to use pay as you go model. What does it mean, pay as you go, or pay for what you are using? Pay as you go or pay for what you are using. Suppose in AWS, if I create 2 servers, I am responsible for only for those 2 servers. Suppose if I am creating 10 servers, do I need to pay only for whatever servers or whatever storage I am using? If I terminate the unnecessary servers, suppose I had 10 servers, but I don't need 10 servers, I terminated 5 servers, I hold only 5 servers as of now. Am I responsible for only 5 servers now if I terminate other 5 servers? Yes. So pay as you go model, pay based on your usage. So am I responsible for here capital expenditure where I need to invest lakhs of money to set up the data center, purchasing the physical hardware, power supply, cooling system, all those things? Am I responsible if I am using CSP? No. So when I am going to use cloud services, will it help me to lower my operating cost and infrastructure costs? If I go with CSP, cloud service providers, if I go with cloud-based infrastructure, will it lower my infrastructure charges, operating charges, and all those stuff? Yes. So that is what exactly CSP does, cloud service provider. What are the advantages? I already covered all these things. Cost. I already covered all these things, but let me quickly do that again. Cost. So will it eliminate that complete capital expenditure from me if I go with the cloud? Yes, you are only responsible for operational expenditure. You are not responsible for capital expenditure. You are responsible only for operating expenditures. To make it simple, instead of constructing home on your own, where you have invest crores of money, you are renting the home to live. Simple. Instead of purchasing the required hardware for your application on your own, you are renting the required infrastructure from someone else. That is what the meaning of cloud. Is everyone clear? Because lot of confusion is there. What is that cloud? Instead of constructing your home and rent, living in that home with spending lakhs of rupees, you are renting someone else's home and you are paying the rent based on your usage. So it will eliminate the complete infrastructure cost. And at the same time, will I able to achieve scalability, elasticity in the cloud if I am using cloud-based infrastructure? What is the meaning of scalability? At any point of time, will I able to create whatever servers storage required for my application at any point of time quickly? I can create required server storage, and also it has a elasticity also, which means instead of manually increasing the capacity of your servers, does cloud providers has a services which can do the auto scaling for us based on the load? Will I able to increase the number of servers? Will I able to decrease the number of servers in the cloud based on the load automatically? Yes. We have a auto scaling. We have a auto scaling in cloud. So I can automatically scale my servers if I am using cloud. And will I able to achieve high availability? Reliability in the sense trust. You can rely on the cloud. Reliability is nothing but a trust. You can trust on the cloud at any point of time. Your applications and your data will be highly available. And most importantly, speed to the market. Speed to the market. Suppose I am trying to develop one application. I want to become an entrepreneur. I have some idea. Let's assume I want to become an entrepreneur. I have some idea and I want to implement that idea as an application. I want to offer those services. Now, within quick time, will I able to create required infrastructure for my application, whatever I have deployed or whatever I have developed? Within no time, will I able to quickly create a required infrastructure, storage, networks to host my application if I am using cloud? If I am using cloud, yes. At the same time, do I need to invest lot of capital expenditure because I am just an entrepreneur? I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money to set up my own data center and purchasing the physical hardware, network devices, hiring the people to manage the data center. I don't have that much huge money. For entrepreneurs, for startups, does cloud is a best option to start their business, to host their applications? Within no time, we can start deploying the applications in cloud. At any point of time, you can create server storage networks and you can scale down, scale up based on the load. In a matter of minutes, with just a few mouse clicks away, will I able to create a server storage networks in the cloud? With just a few mouse clicks away, I can create servers, network, storage, whatever is required in the cloud. And also, I can deploy my application globally. I can deploy my application globally in minutes. What does it mean? Suppose I want to expand my business. Just to give an example, as of now, I am offering my services. As of now, I am offering my services only in India. Let's say I want to expand my business in a different country like US. I want to deploy my application for US people also. Do I need to set up the data center on my own in the US? Not required. It is very tough job also. If you want to set up your own data center in US also, it is very difficult job. Do you need to get approvals from US government? You need to apply, you need to get approvals, lot of process is there. But if there is a cloud, does cloud has their own data centers across the globe? If required, can I create a server storage network in the US data centers, which is managed by AWS, and deploy the application for US people? Yes. So there is, we can deploy globally. Now, security. The most important thing is security. So AWS, not only AWS, any cloud offers lot of security. You have a network security, you have a data security, all those stuff. So network security, we will understand that slowly. Network security in AWS, can I create my own networks? VPC. VPC is one service, guys. VPC is one service that is basically your own network. So can I create my servers in that network? Can I control who can access those servers, whatever has been created in my network? So there are a lot of security services available, network security, data security. There are a lot of things are available, like firewalls, security groups, private network, public network, like that. There are a lot of security models. Data security, you can use some kind of encryption to encrypt and maintain the data in your cloud devices. There are a lot of security models available. Is it possible to hack the CSPs? So we are storing our data in the someone else data center, but there will be a lot of security guidelines, security thing, will be followed by any cloud provider. Any cloud provider, right? They will follow a lot of security features, because trust is very, very important, guys. If they lost the trust, will they get business? Does anyone go and use any cloud? If they try to hack your data, if they try to hack your applications, if they lost the trust, no one will use their business, right? So again, cloud is offering lot of services. As I already told, there are different security services available. Firewalls, basically that security group. From day one, you guys are using AWS security group. You are opening some port. What you are trying to do using that AWS security group? Are you trying to allow so and so application which is running on so and so port? Are you allowing for someone? You are saying everywhere, but in real time, is it a best practice to open that security group for everyone, all the ports, all the IPs? No, that is one kind of a security service. That is kind of one security service. But AWS is offering lot of security services. But as a user of AWS, do you need to use all the best practices? Do you need to use all the security services, whatever is offered by AWS, to secure your servers and data? If you don't properly do that, AWS can't help anything. AWS is offering all the services, but as a user, you need to follow all the best security best practices in the cloud, so that you can secure your applications and data. Is everyone clear? Now, we have a types of clouds. We have a types of cloud. Before I go for AWS, let's understand what is the types of clouds. We have a public cloud, we have a private cloud, we have a hybrid cloud, we have a multi-cloud. So what is the meaning of public cloud? What is the meaning of public cloud? Public clouds are owned and operated by third-party CSPs. Public clouds are owned and operated by third-party CSP, cloud service providers. Can I call AWS, Azure, GCP as a public cloud? It is for everyone. Suppose I need servers and storage for my application. Can I create a infrastructure in this cloud, public cloud? Suppose you need some servers and storage for your application. Will you guys able to create and access your resources from that public cloud? This is for everyone. Can I call this AWS, Azure, GCP as a public cloud? Whoever requires resources, will they able to create and access their resources in that cloud? Yes, that is public cloud. But you will access these resources, you will access and manage these resources using your account. Even though it's a public cloud, you can access and you can manage these resources using your account. Which means, do I need to create account with this public cloud so that I can create and access whatever resources I have? Now you created some resources and I also created some resources in AWS since it's a public cloud. But will I able to manage your resources, whatever you created using your account? Will I able to see your resources in my account? Or will you able to see my resources in your account? No. Even though it's a public cloud, you can access only your resources and manage your resources using your account. So the first day of your DevOps class, we ask you to create account in AWS. So why we ask you to create account in AWS? If you want to create and manage resources in AWS, do you need to hold an account with AWS so that you can access and you can manage your servers, your databases, your networks in that account? Yes. So it's a public cloud. Anyone can create a resources in that one. Any project, any client, any application can use resources from this public cloud. Now, what is the meaning of private cloud? Private cloud is nothing but like a on-premise data center. Private cloud is nothing but it is exclusively used for only one business, one application, or one company. This private cloud is dedicatedly available for one company or one application or one business. So basically, it's company's on-premise data center. Now, in private cloud, does anyone can go and create a servers? Is it available for everyone in private cloud? No. It is only for some company, some business. That is private cloud. Now, what is the meaning of hybrid cloud? What is the meaning of hybrid cloud? Public plus private. Combination of public and private clouds together is called as a hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud combine public and private clouds together, which means some applications are running in a cloud, some applications are running in their own data centers. Suppose you have a lot of security compliance requirements. At any point of time, you don't want to maintain your data in someone else's data center. In that case, can I have my database running in my own data center? Can I have my database software configured and running in my own data center? Then your applications, can you host your application servers in the cloud like AWS? Is it possible for accessing the database which is running in your own data center from cloud? Is that possible? Yes. So there are some services available for again. You can connect your own data center with AWS cloud also. There are some services available. So you have lot of security requirements. Can I have some softwares, some applications running in my own data center, and can I have some applications running in the cloud? Will I able to communicate the cloud servers with my own database servers, which is running in my own data center? Is it possible? Yes. So if you have that type of architecture, can I call that as a hybrid cloud architecture, hybrid infrastructure, or hybrid cloud infrastructure in your application? Yes. That is hybrid cloud, combination of public as well as private. So with hybrid cloud, will it give better flexibility? Flexibility comes from public cloud, and also security and compliance can be achieved in your own data center. If I use hybrid cloud, can I achieve flexibility as well as security and compliance? Which means if you don't want to host some software, some data you don't want to maintain in someone else's data center, you don't want to create in cloud, can I have that database software? Can I have that data in my own data center? And only applications are running in cloud. Applications can talk to the database which is running in your own data center. Will I have a more flexibility, and also security and compliance can be achieved with hybrid cloud? Yes. So what is multi-cloud? What is the meaning of multi-cloud? Hybrid cloud is different, multi-cloud is different. What is the meaning of multi-cloud? Using multiple CSPs. For your application, you can leverage two or more cloud computing platforms like Azure, AWS. For your application, you can have resources in AWS cloud as well as Azure cloud also, if required. That we call it as a multi-cloud. Sometimes in the interview also they'll ask these questions: types of clouds. Is everyone clear what is public cloud, what is private cloud, hybrid cloud, and multi-cloud? Okay. Now one more important topic here: cloud service models. Cloud service models. We have some service models in the cloud. You take any service in the cloud, it is going to fall under either this category. Any service you take like EC2, S3, or EKS, RDS, any service you take in the cloud, that service either will fall under this one or this one or this one. We have cloud service model. So what are those cloud service models? So this one, infrastructure as a service, IaaS, infrastructure as a service. This we call it as a IaaS. So what does it mean? What is the full form of this one? Platform as a service. Platform as a service. This CIAS, software as a service. Software as a service. You take any service in any cloud, whether it is a GCP, whether it's a Azure, whatever it is, whatever services they are offering, it will fall under some service model: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Now if you see, you take your application, you will have all these categories, all these components. These are hardware related components. These are hardware related components. There will be 9 components. You take any application. So do we need to have a networking devices like switches, hubs, routers, cables, which connects your servers to the network? We have a networking. We have a storage. Do we need some storage? Storage is nothing but a disk, like hard disk for your laptop or desktop. Do I need some storage to store the data of my servers or data of my application? Do we have a storage devices? Do we need a storage? Yes. And servers. These servers are nothing but physical machines. Physical machines. CPU and memory. CPU and memory. So on top of these physical servers, using virtualization concept, can I create a virtual machines? On top of that physical hardware, using virtualization concept, I can create a virtual machines, virtual servers. So what is virtualization? I will discuss in detail also later. We have a virtualization. On top of that virtual machine, do I need to install some operating system? That can be Linux operating system, that can be Red Hat or CentOS, or that can be Windows, any operating system. Are we going to have an operating system? Yes. On top of this operating system, can I install required middleware softwares like Java software or .NET software or Python software or Node.js software, whatever, middleware software which is required to run my application and data. So what is this runtime? Your server runtime or server uptime. Your server runtime or your server uptime. When server should be up and running, when server should be down. You should have a control on that server uptime. You take any application, you have these components. If I am using on-premise infrastructure, who is responsible for taking care of all these components? Your networking devices, storage devices, servers, virtualization, all these components, who is responsible? If we are using on-premise infrastructure, we, company. By company, we. That can be a DevOps engineer, that can be a data center engineer, but as a company, we are responsible. As a company, we are responsible. But when I go for a cloud service models, when I go for a cloud, they are offering something like this: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. If I choose this type of service, infrastructure as a service, who will manage all these things? This virtualization, servers, that physical servers, the networking devices and storage, everything, the CSP. So am I responsible for purchasing the required networking devices like routers, cables, switch? Am I responsible for purchasing and managing storage devices like disks, like SAN storage, storage area network, or whatever it is? I am not responsible. Am I responsible for purchasing the physical servers like CPU, memory, all those things? No. So who is responsible for managing these components if I go for an infrastructure as a service model in the cloud? The CSP. So if there is any failure happens in these underlying components, if there is any failure in the networking devices in the AWS data center, is there any failure in the storage devices, if your physical server is failed, if they have any problems in these layers, these components, are we responsible to fix that problem? No. CSP, cloud service provider. On top of this infrastructure, who is responsible in these layers? If I am using infrastructure as a model in the cloud, who is responsible for managing these components on top of that infrastructure? We, the user of AWS. The user of AWS has to manage these components if you are using infrastructure as a service model. So on top of this infrastructure, can I install whatever operating system I want to install on top of that AWS infrastructure? Do I have a control on choosing what operating system I want to install? Can I install whatever middleware softwares required for my application as per my requirement? That can be Java software, Python software, Node.js software. And am I responsible for deploying my application and managing the data? If you use this infrastructure as a service model. So EC2, EC2. Can I call this as a infrastructure as a service? If I use EC2 service, that EC2, whatever is offered in AWS, can I call that as an infrastructure as a service? Because am I worried about the underlying infrastructure? Am I worried about what type of physical machines they are using? Are they using VMware ESXi devices? Are they using Dell devices, Dell physical machines? Are they using any IBM machines? Do I need to worry about all those things? Am I responsible for purchasing those physical servers, storage, networking if I am using EC2? No. So EC2 falls under infrastructure as a service. So it is not software as a service. Dada Saheb is saying EC2 software as a service. That is not software as a service, infrastructure as a service. So this infrastructure will be managed by CSP. On top of their infrastructure, do you have an option to choose operating system? When you are creating EC2, it starts from there. When you are creating EC2, now first and foremost thing, what you are selecting here, guys, in the first section, what we are selecting in the first section, when I am creating EC2, am I selecting the operating system? That can be any operating system. Now I want, let's say, Windows. Can I select this AMI? So is it going to install Windows operating system on top of this infrastructure which is owned by AWS? We are directly starting from here. If anything goes wrong here, or am I responsible for looking after these components as a user in the AWS if I'm using EC2? No. We are selecting what type of operating system you need. Then once that server is created, can I install whatever software is required? That can be Java, Python, .NET, Node.js, any software, any middleware based on my requirement. You have a control on this one. Now you can deploy whatever applications you want to deploy. You can manage your data. And also, do I have a control on the server uptime? At any point of time, if I don't want my server to be running, can I stop that server? Do I have that option? Stop the server, start the server? Yes. So if anything is wrong in these layers, these components, does AWS will support and does AWS will fix for you? No. You need to manage. If anything goes wrong here, does AWS comes here? You can raise a support ticket with them and they will start looking into that issues. Okay. This is infrastructure as a service model. In AWS, we have a EC2. But if I am using GCP, can I call compute instances in GCP as an infrastructure as a service? In GCP, you have a compute instances. In Azure, we call it as a Azure VM, Azure virtual machines. In AWS, we are calling as EC2, but in Azure, we call it as a Azure VM. So can I call those as infrastructure as a service models in any cloud? Azure VM, AWS EC2, or Google Compute instances? Yes. Now we have one more component called PaaS, platform as a service. If I go with the platform as a service, along with the infrastructure, this is also taken care by the provider. Along with the infrastructure, operating system, your middleware softwares, and the server uptime also will be managed by providers itself. So if I am using platform as a service, I will just manage, I will just deploy that applications on that platform and manage my data. So here, do I need to configure the middleware softwares if I'm using platform as a service? Am I responsible for installing whatever middleware softwares which is required myself if I go for a platform as a service? No. That will be taken care by provider itself. And if something goes wrong with your server, does automatically another server will be created for you? If something went wrong with your platform, does another platform will be created for you automatically? Yes. So there is a platform as a service. You are just responsible for deploying the applications and managing your data on that platform. What are the examples? Examples for platform. We have a EKS, we have Lambda, we have Elastic Beanstalk, Elastic Beanstalk. Guys, this Lambda, I can call it as a different serverless. This is serverless computing. This is altogether different concept. So EKS, Elastic Beanstalk. What is the meaning of EKS? EKS is one service. What is the full form? Elastic Kubernetes Service. Elastic Kubernetes Service. So using Elastic Kubernetes Service, I can create a Kubernetes platform. So I can create a Kubernetes platform. I no need to install Kubernetes softwares. I no need to manage the uptime of my Kubernetes servers. Everything will be managed by provider itself. On top of that Kubernetes platform, will I able to deploy my applications, my containers? I am only responsible for deploying that applications on top of that platform. So Elastic Beanstalk is one more example. So suppose I need a Java platform or I need a Python platform. Can I create a service in Elastic Beanstalk which will give platform completely? Which means operating system also will be there. That platform, that software also will be automatically available in that platform. So here we are responsible only for deploying the applications on top of that platform. Now, if anything goes wrong with that, server is went down, am I going to get another server automatically if I use that platform as a service? If anything happened in these layers also, am I going to get another one automatically? Yes. That is what? Platform. The last one is a software as a service. What is the meaning of this software as a service? Everything will be managed by the provider itself. That complete software will be managed by the provider itself. Just to give an example, in Microsoft, Microsoft Office 365, Office 365. So that is one software. Does most of the companies request that Office 365 for employees, their employees, for communication with other teams, right? That team software, that Outlook software, that complete package, that complete software is available as a service. So will they able to quickly create that service and start using that service without no need to develop that software, no need to build and deploy that software? They can directly use that software by creating that software as a service if it is already available. Yes. In AWS also, CloudWatch is one example. What is CloudWatch? It's a monitoring software for AWS. So do I need to build my own monitoring software? Do I need to deploy my own monitoring software if I want to monitor the resources which is created in AWS? Not required. Already that software is available. You just create that software like Gmail, Outlook, all those things. Now, Bhaskar sir might have explained already Sonar Cloud. Sonar Cloud. Did you guys attended that Sonar Cloud session? Bhaskar sir might have at least explained that Sonar, what is Sonar Cloud. So Is that software is available as a service? Instead of you are installing, deploying that software, is that software is completely available as a service? So is everything will be managed by that provider itself, that Sonar Cube software, the run uptime of that Sonar Cube software server, everything that falls under software as a service. So when you are choosing the services, in which order you have to prefer, guys? Suppose you started using cloud, which models you will prefer? You will prefer in this order, or you will prefer in this order? So we have to prefer in this order. First, this one. Suppose you are trying to build one software, one application. If that application or software is already available as a service, do you need to spend some time, hire the developers, develop that software, build that software, and apply that software? Do you need to waste your time by hiring the people to develop that software, building that software, and applying that software? Not required. If you are looking for something which is already available, you can prefer this way. If this is not there, then what is the next preference you can choose? Platform. At least am I getting that platform? At least am I getting that platform so that I can deploy my application and that data? So if this is not there, if this is not there, can you start building your own infrastructure, deploy whatever middleware softwares is required, manage your applications and data? This is the order. Which one will charge more, guys? ES will charge more, platform as a service will charge more, or software as a service will charge more? This will charge more, because is that provider itself is managing all these components? Yes. Just to make it simple, guys, as I already told, I'll take till 9:15. I'll wrap up the session by 9:15. I start by 7:40 and I'll wrap up by 9:15 every day. Just 4 more minutes are left. Okay. So just to make it simple, I'm taking car as one service. To relate these models, I'm taking car as one service. On premise is like your own car. On premise is like your own car. Are you responsible for managing everything, whatever it takes you to maintain the car? You are responsible for everything, like car servicing, insurance, road tax, fuel, everything. It is like your own car. If I go with infrastructure as a service, it is like you are taking the car for lease. You are taking the car for lease. So if you are going to take the car for lease, does someone will purchase the car? Are they responsible finance and depreciation since you are taking for the lease? Someone else purchased. And are you responsible for these things? Since you are taken for a lease, are you responsible for servicing, fuel, road tax, garage, and all those stuff? Since you have taken for lease, so this will be managed by someone else. This you need to manage. If I go for a platform as a service, it is like you hire the car. You hired a car. So most of the things will be managed by the provider itself. You are responsible for only this. This software as a service is like a Ola or Uber. This software as a service is like a Ola or Uber, right? You just sit in that cab and enjoy your ride. Do you need to worry about anything, whatever it takes to manage the car? No. So similarly, the whatever services are offered by the cloud, it falls under either infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Is everyone clear, guys, whatever has been discussed so far? I have not yet started AWS. I have not yet started AWS. It is today, it's just an introduction about what is infrastructure, why do we need infrastructure, what is on-premise infrastructure, and what is cloud infrastructure, we discussed, right? Now, here, if you see, What are the popular cloud providers we have? As I already told. What are the popular cloud providers we have? AWS, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, VMware, IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, Salesforce Cloud. And recently, if you guys follow the technical news or technical blogs, recently Reliance also announced Geo Cloud. Did you guys heard about that news? Reliance also venturing into the cloud business. They are starting their own cloud platform. So soon, maybe after 4 or 5 years down, will I able to create a required infrastructure in the Geo Cloud also? Required servers, networks, if I want to create, can I go with Geo Cloud also the way I am going with AWS? Yes. Down the line. Not sure how long it will take. So they also announced. But out of these, service providers, who is holding more business in the cloud? I mean to say, who is having more customers in the cloud business? If you see, AWS, next place goes to Azure, then Google Cloud. But AWS and Azure is almost having a very tight competition now. AWS also came, Azure also came very strong recently. Azure also came very strong. I mean to say, Azure also offering lot of services, lot of features also compared to the AWS. And Azure also now competing with AWS. They are at same range now. But why AWS is holding more business? Why people are using? Because AWS is the first cloud in its era. It started long back. AWS started long back. Later Azure came into picture. Google Cloud came into picture. There are different factors also, guys. Right? The charges. Not everyone will offer with same charge. Right? Maybe AWS will offer their services with less charge. Azure may offer with more charges. So they have, that will vary based on the different factors also, right? So with that, what is the most used cloud platforms in IT in the market as of now? AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and IBM Cloud also changed their strategy. If you heard, does IBM has create, splitted into two different, business units now. IBM started Kindle as separate business unit. So recently IBM acquired Red Hat. Not recently, almost 2 years back. 2 years back they have acquired Red Hat also. Recently they have splitted into two business units, IBM and Kindle. So that Kindle is only focusing on the cloud business. So they want to improve their business. They want to improve their strategies. They want to improve their services. So they want to focus more. So they completely separated with each other now. So popular cloud providers in the market as of now, AWS and Azure. Next place goes to Google Cloud and IBM Cloud. Okay. So with this background, I'll continue tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow I'm going to start actual AWS. Okay. Guys, AWS is more like a theory part. It is more like a theory because it is infrastructure. It is all about servers, storage, network, all those things. On top of that infrastructure only, you will deploy any application, any software. So it is more like a theory. So don't get bored. Don't be sleepy. Focus. This is also very, very important. I'll continue tomorrow with actual AWS. I'll start tomorrow. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.